I am about to read The Silver Elite by Dani Francis. This book I'm really excited about, mostly obviously because it has like some beautiful sprayed edges, but also because it's an adult dystopian book, and that's just like really excited. So from my understanding, this book follows along our main character Wren, and she has psychic abilities, but in this dystopian world, you're not allowed to have psychic abilities. Anybody who's found out is dealt with. And so obviously she's in hiding and she's working with a group of rebels. But it turns out that I guess she's kind of showed her other skills in terms of like combat and maybe even like intellectual thinking, that she ends up being kind of, I guess, drafted to be part of the Silver Elite, which means that she now has like the in with kind of like the army who is like hunting down the psychic people. And so she's kind of infiltrating it in a way. And so I imagine she's probably gathering information, sending it back to the rebels. But the person, one of the people there, one of the soldiers, ends up noticing a lot about different things that she does. And she needs to be really careful with him because she might start to fall for him. And I'm like, eee! So cute, such a good setup. I'm really excited. It's kind of given me Crimson Moth vibes about like, these are two kind of sworn enemies, except it's in like a dystopian setting. So I'm really excited to see if this book meets the hype, if it meets my expectations. So without further ado, let's just crack it right open. Oh, but wait! We know the drill. This has a dust cover and that needs to come off before I can read it. So this is like a deluxe edition of the book. So I imagine it's going to be black with like a blue spine and then maybe a pretty design underneath, because obviously pretty design underneath is the whole purpose of a hardcover book. So let's open it up and find out. I was close. Okay, so I got the colors right, but I didn't get the pretty design underneath because I did not think, because I was so obsessed with this being deluxe, that this is a book of the month book, and typically there is a stamp right here that says book of the month. But I think I was just kind of being hopeful that maybe there would also be like a design, but there's not, at least there's a little stamp. But yeah, without further ado, let's just crack this book right open. So I'm a little bit more than 100 pages into Silver Elite, and here are my thoughts so far. This book is like if the Imperium series and Red Queen had a baby, is the vibes I'm getting right now. Because in this world, it's like a dystopian world centuries after our present time, and there's this continent that had been kind of like left over that wasn't destroyed in like a nuclear kind of war that happened. And part of the result of it, some people manage to become psychic. They have different psychic abilities. Some people can heal. Some people can obviously read minds. They can control people with their minds. There's a bunch of different kind of skills that they can have, but they are being hunted down. They're not allowed. Like, they're seen as like mutated, like nobody wants them kind of vibes. And so the current government, they have a kind of like group of soldiers, the Silver Elite, the Silver Block, whose complete job is to find psychics and remove them, eliminate them, or turn them into slaves. And so our main character, Wren, is psychic. But not only is she psychic, she's also the type of psychic who can control people and make them do things, although she's not super practiced in that kind of department. And so she and who she calls Uncle Jim, who is somebody who had basically, her parents had given her when she was a lot younger to Uncle Jim to basically take her away from wherever she was, change her identity, and protect her because of her psychic abilities. And so she's really, really good at her abilities, she's also been taught how to fight, how to shoot a gun. Like, she's like very leveled up, very leveled out. And so some events ensue, and she ends up in a way kind of getting recruited for the Silver Block, meaning that she is going to be with a bunch of other soldiers who are trying to get into like the Silver Elite kind of group so they can hunt down psychics, not knowing that Wren is psychic. And so this kind of Captain Cross guy basically doesn't really trust her. And so he not only recruits her because she impressed him, but also because he thinks that she's hiding something, which obviously she is. But I have a headcanon that he's actually secretly Wolf, and the tattoos on him are to hide his silver blood. Or maybe he doesn't have the silver blood, because Wren's different. Like, when she does her psychic thing, her veins don't change color, whereas some of the like older psychics, when they use their psychic powers, their veins start to glow silver, which is really neat. And so that's kind of the part that reminds me of Red Queen, where you have like silver blood in like a dystopian setting, and then people with the wrong colored blood aren't seen as humans. And so I think that's interesting. And then the part that reminds me of the Imperium is that they are in their 20s and they're in like a soldier training camp, so similar to like the Dragon Riders, where they're taking classes, they sleep there, they're learning, they're making friends and all that stuff. So it's a really, really fun setting. And the writing style is really, really good. I believe that this is Dani Francis's first book. When I checked her out on Goodreads, I didn't see any other books, so this, I think, is her first book, and wow, this is a very fun first book. I am honestly having a really good time. I think I had slightly lower expectations because I saw a lot of people talking about like, oh, all dystopian is for adult. That's like saying you can't read Hunger Games or Red Queen or anything as an adult, but that's not the case. Obviously, like, you can read young adult if you're an adult. I personally love YA, and so what I like though is that although like you have your typical dystopian, you also get the spice. And that's the stuff that's missing, you know? And so as somebody who really likes spice and really likes dystopian, I'm really happy that there's a book like this. So yeah, I'm having a really good time. We will see where the rest of the story goes, but so far so good. I'm really captivated. The writing is so good. The characters are really fun. I love that Wren is super, super good at everything with a good reason to be, but has to pretend not to be. So yeah, I'm going to continue to read Silver Elite, and I will update you around the halfway mark, so I will see you then. So I'm a little bit more than halfway through Silver Elite, and I'm still really enjoying this book. The tension between Cross and Wren, I'm so happy. This is like a slow burn kind of vibe, and it's like, I don't really want to call it like enemies to lovers, but I guess like it is in a sense, because like he's the general's son and she's a psychic, so they're like bound to be enemies, but they're not really like enemies when they meet, if that makes sense. But yeah, their tension and their slow burn is just like, so delicious. The only thing though about them is like, it definitely seems like they're physically attracted to each other, but I don't really think that it makes sense for them to actually like each other. And it doesn't seem like that's the case. Like, they don't seem to really just like each other. They seem to just like be physically attracted. So that's kind of like where their romance is at, and I'm like, I'm eating it up. And I will say that this book has surprised me with what just happens to characters. I'm not going to say exactly what happens, but I literally, my jaw dropped when one of the characters was killed off, and I'm like, what? Like, that just happened? And then just like some of the scenarios the characters were in, and it's just like, I just really love watching the characters kind of training to get into Silver Block. That's always been one of my favorite things, because it's like, you get to see hand-to-hand combat, you get to see shooting, you get to see hostage negotiation, hostage resistance, fallen soldier, like reconnaissance. Like there's so many really cool things that all the characters do during this kind of training period, and you get to learn more about the other characters, the other recruits, and just like how the whole area works in general. So I really, really like that. And I think that it's really well thought out. The pacing is really good. There's no point in this book where I'm like, oh, like it's so slow, like none of that. And then the fact that it's like a dystopian world that we're starting to learn more and more about, and like the references to the old world, like the old era, which is like this era, and then how they're the new era, and how like the radiation and like some kind of war that we in the old era had is the result of like the psychic people, and how the general guy doesn't like psychic people, and he has like a reason to not like them because the previous like kind of president person was a psychic and they were really bad and they kind of like enslaved the non-psychic people. So he's definitely very extreme in his views, but like you kind of understand why he did these things, why he's done certain decisions. My theory of Cross being wolf, I think it's still a thing, and I think that's why they seem to have some kind of like instant kind of connection where they're just like drawn to each other because they have known each other since childhood. I'm sticking to this theory. That's what we're going with, because I think it would just make sense. Because if you think about it, like Cross, imagine he's the ultimate infiltrator because he's General's son, but imagine he's actually psychic. That would be cool. The book is also really cool in terms of just like the kind of messages that they're kind of bringing across. I thought it was interesting because there was a conversation with Wren and Cross where they're kind of talking about the old era and the new era, and he was kind of talking about like why he believes in the new era versus the old era, and he was talking about like how prisoners during that time period, like our time period, had 3 square meals, they had somewhere to sleep that was warm, they had access to running water, like constant, they would always have food, like this kind of stuff. Even they could even just like exercise and like all that, whereas the people who were working couldn't really afford to live that kind of luxurious lifestyle. And so it was interesting that he was kind of talking about that, and he was like, yeah, you know, like prisoners were treated better than the actual people who were like working class and like didn't commit any crimes and stuff. And he's like, that's why I believe in this like new era, because in what they do is they everybody instead. But obviously it's not perfect either, because they're targeting psychic people because they're different and they have these powers that they don't understand and like all that stuff. But they also enslave psychic people, so they understand their values. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting. There's a couple other things that happen throughout this book that's like a nod toward our current society that I thought was interesting, because I had seen some people talk about with this book that it's not really dystopian because it doesn't have a message and it's not talking about like what's kind of wrong with the world and what like a possible different world would look like, but it certainly is. And I think that it's doing a really good job with that, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's like, I know I mentioned before, it's kind of like Red Queen in the Imperium series. I think it has a hint of Red Rising in it as well, where it's like the main character is in this kind of soldiery realm area trying to like overthrow the government from the inside out. I think that that's just like such a fun vibe. And I love that Wren actually just knows how to fight. She's a really great sniper, and she doesn't just magically get main character syndrome where she's really, really bad at this stuff and then suddenly she's like, oh yeah, I'm an expert overnight. That doesn't happen because she's been training since she was 5 years old, and she's like 20 in this book. So it makes sense that she's so good and she has to pretend not to be good, which I think is a nice reverse on that kind of character. So yeah, definitely really, really enjoying this dystopian romance. What would you call that? A dystopian? Dystopian? I think dystopian sounds better. This is like a dystopian, and I really like it because it combines all of these things that I've really, really loved in literature, which is just like, I've always been a sucker for the dystopian kind of story, and I'm a sucker for spice, like that kind of slow burn romance, and this book has put it all together into one yummy, yummy book. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to read Silver Elite, and I'll update you when I finish the book, so I will see you then with my final thoughts. So last night I finished Silver Elite and I really did end up enjoying this book. You never really know, right? Like when people are like, this book is really, really good, and then you also hear the complete opposite end where people are like, this book sucks, we got lied to, this book is awful, I hate it so much. But I didn't hate it. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It's honestly like, I've never heard of Dani Francis. I do believe this is her first book, which is really impressive, but it's given Imperium vibes in the sense that the first book is very good and you really get immersed. You get to learn little bits and pieces about the world. You get to learn about the characters, how things are going, but like the little tiny little details, the little setup that's going to happen in the next couple of books was so good. And I think that this is going to be one of those series that gets better as time goes on, with the first book already setting a really good precedent. I had a really good time reading this book. I think that the pacing of it was really, really good. There was no parts that were boring. There were definitely a lot of surprises that happened in this book, like things that you don't expect. And as somebody who obviously reads a lot, it's hard to get me. It's very hard to get me, but this book managed to do that, while also at the same time having like the usual like predictability in this kind of genre. But if you've watched some of my videos before, any of my ranking videos, you know that predictability isn't really like a big issue for me. And in fact, I find it a little bit comforting that I have some idea about what's going to go on. But it also had a lot of surprises in it. And that's what I really, really like having that nice mix of them. I will say that Wren is not my favorite kind of female protagonist, but she's definitely a lot better than some of the other ones that I have read. Like I can't remember her name at the moment, but the main character in Quicksilver, I did not like her. She was way too cocky, way too stabby. Whereas Wren is similar in that way, but there's a more of like a softness to her, and like a lot of the stuff makes a lot of sense based on like the world they live in, her childhood, all of this stuff. So I thought that was good, especially like she had a reason to be cocky to these people. Like they had been like, hey, we're forcibly recruiting you to something that you do not want to do. And so she's purposely trying to fail, despite actually being really, really good. Like I really enjoyed that dynamic. And just like the dynamic between her and Cross was really good. And just like how badly they wanted to be with each other. That was delicious, delicious tension. It was really such a good slow burn. It didn't jump to the point too quickly. I will say though that, and this is just a personal kind of preference, but the I love yous I think are way too early in this book. I would have loved to see that wait until the next couple of books in the series, really just to like make you go, oh, come on, you know? But yeah, it was good. The spicy scenes in this book were really good as well. You weren't like overloaded where every second page there was a spicy scene, but when there was a spicy scene, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. And like, it doesn't take away from anything, it adds to it. And it's just like, this is exactly what I thought the book was going to be. Honestly, it's a lot better actually than I thought it was going to be, just because when you hear so many negative things about books, and I mean, I'm guilty in this regard as well, because I've definitely said negative things about popular books in the past as well. But for me, this is a popular book that does deserve the hype. So today we are going to be awarding Silver Elite a total of 4.5 stars. I know, right? I was going into this book thinking maybe it'll be a 3, but then like by the first page, honestly, I was really, really hooked, and it just was so consistent throughout. The writing style is really captivating. I love the world that's being built. I'm excited to explore more of it again, and I really think that the setup, the way that this book ended, is giving us a really good look at that. I love the Blacklands. That is such a cool idea. It's just pure darkness, but there's one little pocket of light for like 5 hours, but you have to walk really far to get to it, and like it's really, really cool. And just like the nods to our current society and how the characters are kind of dealing with certain things, and the different blocks of soldiers, and then like the rebellion side of things. Like it's really well done, and I'm just having a really great time. And I'm honestly devastated that there's not a second book yet. Like this came out on May 6th, so it's very, very new, and there are no sequels obviously right now because it just came out, so I'm gonna have to wait. But I definitely do have a bit of a Silver Elite sized hole in my heart. I did really have a good time with this book. The next book that I'm going to be reading is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Look at that. Very cute. It's like a literary fiction, kind of chill book, because I like to go from like hardcore fantasy, world build, and that kind of stuff to like a little bit more of a softer palate cleanser book, and then go back into the harder stuff. So yeah, this is what I'll be reading next, and I'm excited because octopus. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the like button and let me know. Have you read Silver Elite yet? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. Also, really great news for you. If you've ever wanted to be part of an exclusive community where you can vote on what books I'll be reading next, give me your best recommendations, see best behind the scenes content, vote in exclusive polls, and much, much more, this can actually become a reality by becoming a member of my channel. There are 3 different tiers that you can pick from, and any time somebody becomes a member of my channel, it goes directly toward me getting more books that we can read together and add to my beautiful shelf that I need to get a bigger one of these, as I'm currently moving my books into this room. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, all the information for this is in the description to the video. I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video.